My name is Avery, and for most of my life, I thought silence meant peace. It wasn't until that one quiet afternoon that I learned silence could also mean danger. It was a Wednesday. The kind of day that feels like filler in the middle of your week. I was working from my home office in downtown Portland, laptop open, coffee half drunk, Spotify humming softly in the background. My husband, Caleb, had left early for a business trip to Seattle, and our 2 kids were spending the week at their grandparents' place in Bend. The house was finally still. No laughter, no arguing, no footsteps. Just me and the hum of the air conditioning. That morning, I'd hired a maid service for the first time in months. Between work deadlines and being a full-time mom, the house had started to resemble a war zone. I found a new company online called Crystal Shine Cleaners. Read a few reviews and booked a same-day appointment. A woman named Alina was assigned. Her profile picture showed a warm smile, maybe mid-30s, with kind eyes. We texted briefly. I told her I'd leave the key under the flower pot by the porch, since I had errands to run. But plans changed. I stayed home. I figured I'd let her do her thing while I worked upstairs. When she arrived around 2 p.m., I peeked through the blinds. Petite, in a blue uniform, holding a cleaning tote. She looked exactly like her profile photo. I waved through the window. She smiled back. I heard the front door open, a soft hello, and then the vacuum started. For the next hour, everything was normal, until my phone buzzed. At first, I thought it was a spam call. The number wasn't saved in my contacts. But when I answered, a trembling voice whispered, "Miss Cole, there's someone in your house." My heart stopped. "Elena? What are you talking about?" She was whispering now, breath short, terrified. "I went upstairs to clean the master bedroom, but there's a man in your closet. He's standing there." I saw his reflection in the mirror. I froze. Every sound in the house suddenly felt sharper. The hum of the fridge, the creak of the walls, the faint buzz of air through the vents. "Elena," I said, voice shaking. "Go outside right now. Don't make a sound. Get out of the house and call 911. I grabbed my car keys, still barefoot, and rushed to the window. My mind was a storm. Caleb was out of town. No one else had a key. Was it a break-in? Was it someone I knew? Before I could call the police myself, my phone buzzed again. A text from Alina, "He's gone. The closet's empty. But the back door is open." My breath caught in my throat. That door had been locked when she arrived. In that single, quiet moment. Staring out the window of my supposedly safe home, a chilling thought crossed my mind. What if he hadn't been there for Elena? What if he'd been there for me? I had no idea then that this single encounter would unravel a truth buried deep beneath years of lies, deceit, and betrayal. One that would lead me to the people I trusted most. And it all began with a whisper. "There's someone in your house." The police came within 15 minutes, though it felt like hours. 2 officers, Detective Rowan and Officer Blake, moved through the house, checking each room while I stood outside with Elena, both of us shaking. She was pale, eyes wide and glassy, gripping her tote like a lifeline. When the detectives finally came back out, their faces were unreadable. "There's no one inside," Rowan said. "No forced entry, nothing missing. Are you sure you locked up, ma'am?" "Yes," I said quickly. "The back door was locked when I left the key for her. And she said she saw someone." Elena nodded, voice trembling. "I saw his reflection in the mirror. Tall, wearing a dark hoodie. I swear, I'm not imagining things." The detective exchanged a look with Officer Blake. That skeptical, wary expression police give when they think someone's being dramatic. "Ma'am," he said. "It could have been a trick of the light. You said you were cleaning. Mirrors, reflections. It happens." But I could see in Alina's eyes that it hadn't been a trick. She had seen someone. And deep down, I knew it too. After the police left, I offered to pay her double for the cleaning. She refused. "I just want to go home," she said softly, backing away toward her car. "Please, be careful." That night, the house didn't feel like mine anymore. Every creak in the floorboards sounded like a footstep. Every shadow looked like a man waiting to step forward. I locked every door, every window, and tried to sleep on the couch downstairs with the TV flickering. Around 100 a.m., my phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Did you like your visitor?" I sat bolt upright, my stomach twisting. My hands shook so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I replied immediately, "Who is this?" No response. Just the 3 dots, then nothing. I ran through possibilities. A prank, maybe a sick joke from one of Caleb's coworkers. But there was one detail that chilled me to the bone: the word visitor. Not intruder. Not man. Visitor. As if whoever texted me thought he belonged here. The next morning, I called Caleb, trying to sound calm. "Caleb, something happened yesterday. A cleaning lady saw someone in the house." He cut me off. "Avery, you're overreacting again. You get paranoid when I'm gone. Just breathe, okay?" My pulse pounded. Again. He'd said it like this wasn't new. Like he'd been waiting for it. "Caleb," I said through gritted teeth, "someone was inside our home. The police came." He sighed. "Then let the police handle it. I can't drop everything and come back for another one of your episodes." I hung up. My hands were trembling, not from fear anymore, but from anger. That evening, I noticed something else. The flower pot, the one I'd left the key under, was turned a few inches to the left. I hadn't moved it. I knelt down, lifted it, and found something underneath, a folded piece of paper, damp from the soil. I unfolded it, heart hammering. In messy handwriting, it read, "You shouldn't trust the people closest to you." That was the moment everything changed. The fear turned to suspicion. And that suspicion, into a mission. Because if someone thought they could scare me into silence, they didn't know who they were dealing with. I was about to find out who was behind this. And when I did, I would make sure they regretted ever setting foot in my house. The next few days felt like walking through a fog. Everything was quiet, but beneath the silence, something sinister pulsed. I didn't tell anyone else about the note, not even the police. I needed to think. I needed proof before anyone dismissed me again like Caleb did. That night, I started small. I checked the security cameras Caleb had installed 2 years ago. The ones he insisted were for protection. When I opened the app on my phone, my blood went cold. All footage from the last 3 weeks was gone. Deleted. Every file. Every timestamp. Every trace. I called the security company immediately, pretending to be calm. "Hi, this is Avery Lewis. I need to recover deleted footage from my home system." The technician hesitated. "Ma'am, the deletion was done manually. Someone logged in from the main account." My voice trembled. "Which account?" He read it off slowly. "Caleb's." I hung up, heart pounding so loud it drowned out the ticking of the kitchen clock. Caleb was supposed to be in Chicago for work. But if he was the one who deleted the footage, why? I spent the rest of the night scrolling through bank statements, call logs, credit card alerts. Anything that could explain the unease clawing at my chest. Then I saw it: a payment for a storage unit in the next town over. Under Caleb's name, paid in cash. The next morning, I drove there. The manager, an older man with thinning hair, didn't even blink when I asked about Unit 47B. "Yup, that's under Caleb Lewis. Been renting it 6 months now. Can I take a quick look?" I asked, my voice steady, but my hands tight on the counter. "Sorry, ma'am. Only the renter or someone with written permission can access it." I forced a smile. "Of course. Thank you." But I wasn't leaving without answers. I waited in my car across the street, watching, until the manager stepped out for his smoke break. Then I slipped through the side entrance, the same one delivery trucks used. When I reached Unit 47B, the padlock wasn't even fully latched. My stomach twisted as I lifted it and slid the door open. Inside were boxes stacked neatly, not random junk, but personal things, familiar things. My things: a photo album from our wedding, a jewelry box that had gone missing last spring, my old laptop, the one Caleb said got donated during a cleanup, and on a small folding table at the back, a folder labeled A.L. Felas, my initials. Hands shaking, I opened it. Inside were printed screenshots of emails, text messages, and even therapy notes from my online sessions. private ones. Things Caleb couldn't possibly have access to unless he'd hacked into my accounts. And that's when I saw the last page. A photo. It was me, sitting in our living room, unaware, looking down at my phone. The photo had been taken from inside the house. A shiver ran down my spine. I backed out slowly, closing the door, heart pounding so hard I could barely breathe. Back in my car, I tried to make sense of it. Caleb had been spying on me, recording me. But why? Jealousy, control, something darker. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. A man's voice came through, deep and calm. "You shouldn't have gone there, Avery." My throat went dry. "Who is this?" The line went silent. Then a click. I drove straight to the police station, but when they searched the unit later that afternoon, everything was gone. The boxes, the photos, even the folder. The unit was scrubbed clean. The detective frowned at me. "You sure you saw all that, ma'am?" I stared at him, trembling. "I'm sure." When I got home that night, the house felt different again. Colder. Like it was watching me. Then, on my kitchen counter, I saw it. The flower pot note. Only now, someone had written something new underneath in the same messy handwriting. "You still don't get it." That's when I realized. This wasn't about a stranger in my house. It was about my husband. And the secret he'd been hiding behind closed doors. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. Every creak in the floorboards, every faint hum of the refrigerator, felt like a threat hiding in plain sight. The walls seemed to breathe, whispering secrets I didn't want to hear. After the flowerpot note reappeared, I stopped pretending everything was fine. I knew one thing for sure. If the police couldn't help me, I'd help myself. I started documenting everything. Photos, voice memos, timestamps. Every sound, every item out of place, every flicker of light that felt wrong. I even bought a small hidden camera, tucked it into the bookshelf facing the hallway. That night, Caleb came home earlier than usual. He kissed me on the forehead like nothing was wrong. His touch made my skin crawl. "How's work?" I asked, my voice steady but my fingers tight around my mug. "Busy. You know how it is," he said, flashing his usual half-smile, the one that used to make me feel safe. "You okay? You look tired." "I haven't been sleeping," I admitted. "I keep thinking about what Mia found here." He paused mid-sip. "The cleaning lady?" "You mean that nonsense about someone being in the house?" "It wasn't nonsense," I said quietly. "There was a note." Caleb's eyes darkened. "Avery, I told you to stop obsessing over this. You're letting anxiety take control again." The way he said again made my blood boil. He always used my past therapy sessions against me, as if my emotions invalidated my reality. But this time, I didn't argue. I just smiled weakly and excused myself to the bedroom. When I closed the door, I could feel his eyes burning through it. Later that night, after Caleb fell asleep, I checked the bookshelf camera. The footage showed nothing for the first few hours. Just the glow of the hallway light. Then around 1:27 a.m., movement. The figure walked right past the camera. Tall, male. Wearing a hoodie. He wasn't Caleb. I could see Caleb's sleeping silhouette in the bedroom reflection. This was someone else. The man stopped at the end of the hallway and looked straight into the lens. I gasped, slamming my laptop shut. My pulse thundered in my ears. Who was he? How did he get inside? I wanted to wake Caleb, but something inside me whispered no. I needed to be sure. So I waited until morning and checked the camera again. The file was gone. Deleted. My phone pinged at that exact moment. Another message from the unknown number. "You're not supposed to see him." I dropped my phone, heart hammering. This was too deliberate, too precise. Whoever was doing this wasn't just playing games. They were inside my home, inside my life. That's when I noticed something else strange. Caleb's briefcase, the one he took everywhere, was still sitting by the door, unzipped, and inside, half hidden beneath some documents, was a flash drive. I hesitated only a moment before plugging it into my laptop. There were videos. Dozens of them. All labeled with timestamps and dates. Each video showed me, in different rooms, on different days. Sleeping, cooking, showering, sitting at my desk. Every moment of my life, recorded. The camera angles were ones I didn't even recognize. Some were from inside vents, others from behind mirrors, even the smoke detector above my bed. I felt sick. My hands shook as I scrolled through the files, trying not to vomit. Then, one video caught my attention. Titled, "The Visitor." I clicked it. It showed the same man from the hallway camera, entering the house with Caleb. They were laughing. Talking. Like old friends. And then Caleb's voice, calm, steady, familiar, said, "Don't worry, she won't remember anything. She never does." The screen flickered, then cut to black. I couldn't breathe. My husband wasn't just lying. He was orchestrating everything. The notes, the intrusions, the fear, all of it. But why? I had to know. So that night, when Caleb left for another business trip, I followed him. I stayed 2 cars behind, heart pounding, as he drove down the coastal road, until he stopped at an abandoned motel on the outskirts of town. I parked behind an old van and watched through the rain, smeared windshield as Caleb entered one of the rooms. Minutes later, another man joined him. The same figure from the videos. I couldn't hear what they said, but I saw the exchange envelopes of cash, a laptop, a folder. Then Caleb glanced toward the window, and for a split second, our eyes met through the glass. My stomach dropped. I floored the accelerator and sped off into the night, his headlights flashing behind me like a predator, giving chase. When I finally reached home, drenched in rain and fear, one thing was clear. My husband wasn't who I thought he was. He wasn't trying to protect me. He was hunting me. By the time I got home, the storm had turned the city into a mess of flashing lights and pounding rain. I locked every door, drew the curtains, and sat in the dark, my mind spinning like a broken reel. Caleb's betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was surgical, calculated, and cruel. He had watched me, controlled me, gaslighted me into doubting my own sanity. But not anymore. That night, something inside me shifted. The fear curdled into something sharper, resolve. I wasn't going to run anymore. I was going to end this. I pulled out the flash drive again and copied all the files to a hidden cloud folder. Then, I opened one of the videos and stared at my own image on the screen. I looked small, fragile, a woman living in a house she thought was safe. I whispered to myself, not anymore. Then I started planning. The next day, I texted Caleb like nothing had happened. "Hey babe, I'm sorry for last night. You were right. I've been paranoid. Let's have dinner tonight. My treat." He replied within seconds. "Of course. I'm glad you're feeling better." He added a smile emoji. His signature fake charm. I smiled too, but for a different reason. While waiting for him to come home, I made a few changes. I installed new cameras. My own this time, hidden in places he'd never think to check. The vents, the kitchen light fixture, even the corner of the TV screen. Then I baked his favorite, lemon rosemary chicken. The smell filled the house like a warm lie. When Caleb walked in that evening, he looked picture perfect, the kind of man anyone would trust. He kissed my cheek, his cologne masking the stench of deception. "Smells amazing," he said, setting his briefcase down. I poured him a glass of wine, forcing a smile. "You deserve it. You've been working so hard lately." He chuckled, relaxing into his seat. "Glad you noticed. We ate, we talked. It almost felt normal. Except for the fact that I was recording everything." Halfway through dinner, I excused myself to the kitchen. My heart pounded as I pulled out my phone and opened the live feed from one of the hidden cameras. Caleb's face was no longer smiling. He was texting someone. "She's calm tonight. Probably ready." My hands trembled. Ready for what? Then, as if sensing my gaze, he looked toward the kitchen. His eyes were cold. Calculated, I walked back to the table, pretending I hadn't seen. "Everything okay?" he asked, setting his phone down. "Perfect," I said, forcing a grin. "Actually, I wanted to show you something." He raised an eyebrow. "Oh," I reached for the remote and hit play. The TV flickered to life, and the footage from his hidden cameras appeared on the screen. His smile vanished instantly. Video after video flashed. Me sleeping, me showering, me crying in the dark. Then, the clip of him and the stranger at the motel. Do you want to explain this? I asked, my voice steady even as my hands shook. His jaw clenched. Where did you get that? You left it in your briefcase, I said quietly. But I'm guessing that wasn't a mistake. You wanted me to find it eventually, didn't you? Caleb stood up slowly, his eyes dark. Avery, you don't understand. Oh, I understand, I interrupted. You've been manipulating me for months, making me think I was losing my mind. But the cameras don't lie, Caleb. He took a step closer, lowering his voice. You shouldn't have gone through my things. I laughed bitterly. I shouldn't have married you. Before he could speak, I pulled a small black device from my pocket, a voice recorder. I pressed play, and his voice echoed through the room. Don't worry, she won't remember anything. She never does. His eyes went wide. He lunged forward, trying to grab it, but I stepped back. That's enough, I said. I already sent everything to the police. They're probably watching this right now. That was a lie, but he didn't know that. His expression twisted. For the first time, he looked scared. You don't know what you've done? He hissed. Oh, I do, I said, my voice trembling but strong. I've finally stopped being your experiment. He stared at me for a long moment, then turned and stormed toward the door. But before he could reach it, red and blue lights flashed through the window. Police sirens. I hadn't sent the footage yet. But someone else had. And then my phone buzzed, a text from Mia, the cleaning lady. I knew he was dangerous. I showed the cops the recording. Tears welled in my eyes. Relief, disbelief, and pure exhaustion hit me all at once. Caleb froze as officers burst in, shouting commands. Within minutes, they had him cuffed and pinned to the floor. As they dragged him out, he looked over his shoulder, his voice calm but venomous. This isn't over, Avery. I met his gaze without blinking. Oh, it is. The door slammed shut behind him. The silence that followed felt sacred. The kind of peace that only comes after chaos. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just about one man. It was about reclaiming the life he tried to erase. And I wasn't done yet. The next morning felt unreal. The quiet hum of the refrigerator, the pale light creeping through the curtains, the faint smell of lemon still clinging to the kitchen air. For the first time in months, there was no fear in the house. No shadow behind the door. No camera hidden in the walls watching me sleep. Caleb was gone. Arrested. But the silence didn't feel like peace. It felt like a pause before something bigger. I spent the entire morning going through his things, each drawer revealing another piece of the man I thought I'd married. Bank statements, fake business contracts, emails under false names. The deeper I dug, the uglier it got. In one folder, I found a note written in his handwriting. Subject: as showing increased resistance. Memory gaps closing. Must terminate soon. Subject: A. That was me. I froze, reading it over and over until the letters blurred. It wasn't just manipulation. Caleb had been experimenting on me. Gaslighting me wasn't emotional abuse. It was calculated psychological conditioning. And he wasn't working alone. There were email threads between him and someone named Dr. Fallon, discussing behavioral resets, memory suppression, and neurological interference. Each message was colder than the last, like they were talking about a lab rat, not a human being. That's when it hit me: the headaches, the blackouts, the missing hours. He'd been drugging me, controlling me, testing my reactions. Every night I thought I was dreaming, I was actually living his experiment. My knees buckled. I sat on the floor, clutching the papers to my chest, my breath shallow. But amid the horror, something else sparked inside me. Fire. He'd taken my freedom, my memories, my sanity. But he forgot one thing: I was still standing. And I was going to make sure no one ever called me Subject A again. By noon, I was sitting in a lawyer's office, the files spread out across the polished oak desk. The attorney, Ms. Rodriguez, flipped through them, her brows furrowed. This isn't just abuse, she said. This is a crime. Multiple crimes. She leaned forward. If we release this, it won't just destroy him. It'll take down everyone involved in his research. I nodded slowly. That's the plan, Ms. Rodriguez smiled faintly. You want justice? No, I said. I want truth. 2 weeks later, Caleb's name was on every major news outlet. Psychologist arrested for illegal human experimentation. Behavioral research firm under federal investigation. And there it was. My name, too. Avery Carter. Survivor speaks out. Reporters camped outside my house. People online called me brave. But bravery wasn't what I felt. I felt vindicated. Then came the court date. Caleb walked in wearing the same tailored arrogance he always did, but the fire in his eyes was gone. When the judge read out the charges, unlawful experimentation, coercion, assault, data tampering, he didn't look at anyone but me. His lips curled into the faintest smirk, like he still had some control left. But I had one last move. Miss Rodriguez handed me the small black flash drive I'd hidden all this time. Are you ready? She asked. I nodded and stood. The courtroom hushed as I approached the projector. Your Honor, I said, my voice steady. This is the footage Caleb never wanted anyone to see. The screen flickered on. It showed me, not broken, not crying, but standing in front of a mirror, wired up to medical equipment. Caleb's voice echoed in the background. Memory wipe complete. Initiate response conditioning. Gasps filled the courtroom. Caleb lunged forward, shouting, That's fake. She forged it. But Ms. Rodriguez stood calmly. We've verified the metadata, Your Honor. It's authentic. The judge turned to him. Mr. Sullivan, this alone could put you away for decades. Caleb's mask shattered. His voice cracked, his body trembling as guards restrained him. This was never supposed to go public. He screamed. I looked him in the eyes one last time. Neither was your secret, Caleb. But secrets don't stay buried forever. A month later, I drove down the California coast in my new car. The same route Caleb once claimed was his escape plan. Only this time, it was mine. Mia, the cleaning lady who saved me, was now my friend. We were planning to launch a foundation for survivors of manipulation and psychological abuse. As we sat at a seaside cafe one evening, she asked softly, Do you ever think you'll forgive him? I stared at the horizon. The waves colliding, dissolving, and returning again. No, I said. But I've forgiven myself for staying so long. Mia smiled. You turned pain into power. I exhaled deeply. No, I turned his control into my freedom. 6 months later, the news broke that Caleb had pled guilty to all charges. 5 years in federal prison. Fallon too. Their firm dissolved, their licenses revoked, their reputations destroyed. Justice didn't erase the scars, but it gave them meaning. That night, I opened my journal for the first time since it all began. I wrote one final entry. To anyone who's ever been made to feel small, crazy, or unworthy. Remember, the truth always finds its way out. Even when it's buried beneath lies. I closed the journal, set it aside, and whispered to the empty room, experiment concluded. Then I stepped outside into the soft California night, free, truly, finally, free.